presentarles a continuación a la doctora Michelle Manook. Ella es directora general de Future Coal. El siguiente espacio está dirigido a reflexionar sobre el poder del carbón colombiano, un impulso económico de Colombia y el mundo. A usted, doctora Michelle, muchísimas gracias y bienvenida a nuestro país. Este público está atento a sus reflexiones en torno a este tema. Gracias.
Well, thank you, distinguished guests, industry leaders, and very many friends actually in the audience, which is lovely to see you again. A lot of things can go wrong today because I'm in charge of only 4 slides, so I apologize for my audio-visual technique. It's very, very bad. And also, despite efforts to try to memorize my 3rd speech this month, I'm not going to do a TED Talk, so I apologize that I'll be reading from my notes. But I do hope that you find some of my reflections. I've decided not to do a heavy speech full of statistics. I think everyone in this room knows them, but rather to reflect on a journey which has been 5 years in this role, but 25 years in the resources, oil, gas, mining services sector. So it's absolutely a privilege to address you and to be here. It is a few years since I have been here, and as some have joked and noted, I didn't have a voice back then, but I do now. And so hopefully we are all reminded of not just the history and incredible culture that is this country, but the potential that the abundant natural resources, including coal, actually offers in terms of prosperity. I really enjoy going to different cultures around the world. It is my job to do that, but also to look to the local philosophers to see what are the teachings of the past that we can find inspiration in from today. And when I last addressed you, I was very inspired by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Again, I'm inspired with this one statement: what matters in life is not what happens to you, but what you remember and how you remember it. And this resonates deeply when we consider how coal is often overlooked and underappreciated for its contributions to our world, for its continued contributions, and for its future contributions. And here in Colombia, this sentiment does actually hold true. I would be lying to you if I did not express how incredibly disappointed I am to witness that coal is not being remembered for its contributions not just to our world, but to this economy. And that in particular, Colombian government policy is not properly assessing what is going on in the world and recognizing the valuable opportunity before them. And I say this to you from my very privileged position on the global balcony. The anti-coal tide, despite the headlines that you read, is shifting direction. And Colombia needs to be ready and ahead of this. And I speak to you also that many in the finance and investment community, in the tier 1 sectors of that community, have picked up the phone to have confidential conversations with myself to work out how they can walk back some of the anti-coal policies and restrictive policies that they have created. And in this, I see examples of many different things to come, but not necessarily a good story for coal unless the coal value chain actually embraces it. With production levels between 50 to 60 million tons, primarily thermal coal sold on the international market, Colombia is a significant, and I say strategic player. In 2022, when our exports of met coal hit a record high of approximately 2 million tons, while coke exports reached a historic peak of over 4 million tonnes, making Colombia the third largest exporter of coke after Poland and China. And the reason this is interesting is because Colombia is on the lips of two of the major coal-based economies. Colombia's coal industry plays a crucial role in this national economy. And it's not for me to say that, I think we all understand it. It supports so much of the economic and business activities through the income generated in this sector. But despite these significant contributions, they often go unnoticed. Instead, these policies have sidelined coal in favor of natural gas and hydro. But these alternatives, as good as they are not sustainable. Gas reserves are projected to run out in the next 10 to 15 years, and hydro faces water scarcity issues with major reservoirs hitting record low levels, causing rationing. There is actually no logical reason, much like the debate we find ourselves in, for Colombia to be in this situation. With its abundant resources, particularly as a major exporter of thermal coal, the country is well positioned to leverage thermal power as a viable energy option. 5 years ago, when I spoke to you of our organisation's Evolving Coal Strategy, a fact-based public education initiative introduced by the then World Coal Association, we spoke of the need for affordable, reliable, and secure sustainable energy. I was one of 5 people speaking in the public arena globally on these issues. Moreover, the importance of inclusive policy setting, all fuels, all technologies, this has long been forgotten. But today, these facts have emerged as reality as we watch Western Europe and others, in particular, mostly Western nations, come to terms with ill-informed and short-term energy policies, which has come at a cost, compromising energy security, affordability, and diminishing the viability of many sectors and productivity. But for the nations that were not distracted by ill-fated unilateral policies, they understood the importance to balance both economic and environmental goals, fully embracing what we call sustainable coal stewardship. Here on this slide, we demonstrate how many nations, and in particular, the largest 2 coal-based economies in China and India, are extracting more value per tonne of coal through various abatement opportunities that expand well beyond CCS, returning to the scientific definition of abatement rather than a selective one. Here, coal in pre-combustion, at combustion, and beyond combustion forms as a multi-commodity product, able to extend its contribution beyond power, steel, and cement to high-value products such as rare earths and critical minerals. And as society becomes more digitised and electrified, the demand for critical minerals, as we've heard, intensifies. And we understand that coal and its byproducts present valuable opportunities containing essential minerals like yttrium, silicon, aluminium, and titanium. These are vital for mobile telecommunications, AI, digitalization, and battery storage, technologies central to our future. So abandoning coal or isolating ourselves would be a self-inflicted setback. Colombia, with its rich coal reserves, has a unique opportunity to leverage these resources to boost exports and achieve energy security. The Sustainable Coal Stewardship Roadmap speaks to this necessity and modernisation of the coal value chain through not just digitalisation and intelligent systems, but also in efficiency gains, waste management, and all emissions reduction. This roadmap demonstrates how the 2 largest coal-based and growth economies in China and India are already ahead, seeing coal as an ecosystem securing their future. In fact, many of the discussions that I have with senior leaders in this government is all about ensuring that coal can be seen and is a clean energy resource. Let me challenge everybody that it is innovation and technology from this value chain that will really demonstrate what we can do and how we can consume coal responsibly. The peddling of incorrect information is frankly irresponsible. During combustion phases alone, up to 99% of coal pollutants, including CO2, can be captured today with known and available technologies. That this is little understood, that this is not reflected in Colombian coal policies, is demonstration not of activism, but of an industry that is fragmented domestically and internationally. An industry, a coal industry, that is not united and has lost its voice. So we need to set egos aside. We need to keep them at the door, because this has undermined us, and more detrimentally, has informed the policies that seek to eliminate our critical resource.
A global alliance of leaders who are committed to uniting the entire coal value chain of producers, users, suppliers, and technologists across all coal sectors in mining, power and heat generation, and steel, cement, chemicals, fertilizers, hydrogen, critical minerals and rare earth metals, and advanced carbon engineering. A global alliance focused on building a sustainable future with coal. A sustainable coal future that understands coal is an ecosystem connected. By using coal to deliver affordable and reliable energy for households and energy-intensive industries. By providing coal as a critical input for heavy industries through steel, cement, and aluminium. By providing coal as a critical component into the global food chain for fertilizers, clean energy like hydrogen, harvesting critical minerals such as rare earth metals, carbon-based materials from waste for fibers, electric vehicle batteries, and water and gas filtration. By making chemicals from coal to produce methanol and other liquids in regions deficient in oil and gas. And by using coal to enable economic development and social advancement in communities directly and indirectly impacted by mining and coal-allied operations through local employment, local infrastructure, including roads, bridges, ports, hospitals, schools, royalties and taxes, and community sponsorship, land rehabilitation, and involvement. A sustainable coal future which understands that nations are at different starting points as they address environmental challenges. A sustainable coal future that upholds the sovereign rights of all nations to pursue economic development and environmental responsibility. And a sustainable coal future which embraces environmental best practices through innovation, abatement processes, and technologies. A global alliance which believes that to meet our challenges, we must support modernization and technology advancement, adhering to our responsible coal principles, underpinned by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Together, we are educating on the total contribution of coal in our modern society. Together, we are advocating for coal's inclusivity and abatement. Together, we are advancing a future for coal based on pragmatic policies and facts, allowing coal to meet every country's economic and environmental goals. Together, we acknowledge that the coal industry of yesterday will transform to be the industry of tomorrow, to create a sustainable future for us all. This is Future Coal, the global alliance for sustainable coal.
In November 2023, the World Coal Association recognized that it had to try to be that voice and provide a united platform. We rebranded to Future Coal, the Global Alliance for Sustainable Coal, to bring together the disparate coal value chain, producers, consumers, technologists, suppliers, because no one player can and is telling our story well. We recognize that we are all impacted by negative sentiment towards coal to ensure a robust, transparent, and sustainable global platform, which leaves the geopolitics at the door. And we knew this because the independent research told us so. We knew that we had to unite under the common purpose, which is to better the lives and livelihoods of our global communities. Today, there are many leaders who are carrying the torch on behalf of the entire coal value chain. In particular, the BRICS nations have really engaged with Future Coal. But for the leaders that are currently charting this path for us, this is neither fair nor sustainable. The Colombian coal value chain companies are sadly absent from our global platform, but I hope we can change this together. And I can see in this nation and others that you have fallen prey to an uneducated, mostly global north, privileged, very well-funded energy discourse, dominated by a pro-renewable only narrative, which we know, according to the International Panel on Climate Change, is not a 100% credible solution. Regrettably, nations such as the US and many parts of Europe built their economies on thermal and metallurgical coal during an era devoid of emissions regulations. We saw neglect in investment for advanced emission technologies, such as carbon capture storage and high-efficiency, low-emission power plants. As they developed using older technology with minimal accountability to today's environmental issues, they now pressure low and middle-income economies like Colombia to phase out fossil fuels, especially coal. Urging coal-rich nations to abandon such a versatile resource which has historically built prosperity and reduced income inequality in industrializing nations has been called out as hypocritical, and rightly so. As I have indicated, many coal-producing and consuming nations are not distracted by this nonsensical anti-coal sentiment. They are working towards carbon neutrality, and everything feasible in terms of fuel and technology is on the table. China, India, and several across the ASEAN region are building energy resilience and industrial powerhouses based on all forms of energy, which includes coal. And allied countries to these countries are supporting their sovereign right to do so, with investment in both best practice and technologies. And Colombia Coal Community, you are not alone in the policies which hold you back. In recent roadshows with the government and industry players in both Australia and the United States, it is clear that these incredible resource-rich nations have also lost their way, compromising national security and international competitiveness, with policies that seek to restrict or eliminate resources and the mining industry, rather than invest and grow it. And one other very important fact, which I highlighted in 2019, and for which we've heard some discussion today, which is now being properly addressed. The cost of this so-called energy transition, according to McKinsey, will require $9 trillion every year between 2020 to 2050, totaling $275 trillion to achieve a single goal of greenhouse gas reductions. Regardless the numbers you select, the important point here is we are pushing a solution that is neither feasible nor affordable, and the price to pay will be with every global citizen. The question, can we afford this? particularly when we know the solution proposed is not credible. Last year, fossil fuels accounted for 82% of the world energy market. In the power sector, Europe generates 44% of its electricity from renewable energy. How does Colombia compare? You generate 75% of your electricity from renewables, outpacing Europe, yet your GDP per capita is 6,600, 80% below the European average. In 2023, Colombia joined the Powering Past Coal Alliance, pledging to phase out coal-fired power by 2030. Our members and campaign were strongly against this. This decision is not in the nation's best interest. Your coal exports generate $9 billion annually, more than double the $4 billion from coffee, underscoring coal's crucial role in Colombia's economy. You are the world's 31st largest CO2 emitter, with 54% of emissions from land use and agriculture. You, Colombia, face complex priorities and significant needs, but the answer is not exterminating coal. And now, as I witness the emergence of BRICS collaboration, we see more and more collaboration on coal. Recent agreements include China committing to support South Africa by investing in its electricity grid, expanding green energy projects, extending the life of its nuclear power stations, and investing in the coal fleet. This collaboration aligns with Future Coal's mission to unite the global coal value chain, ensuring that coal is recognized as a vital, versatile, and sustainable natural resource. But we want to see many more countries participate in this kind of collaboration. It is, however, no coincidence that 4 of the 5 original BRICS nations are world leaders in coal consumption, accounting for a combined 6 billion tonnes per year. These nations understand that profound economic and social development can coexist with the responsible and sustainable use of coal. It is also no coincidence that the 4 of the largest Fortune 500 companies are Chinese coal conglomerates, with business activities expanding the coal value chain. In 2022, the IEA revealed that the number of people without access to electricity had grown for the first time since the turn of the century. This comprised 600 million Africans with no connection to an electrical network and 75 million people who have access but no means to pay for it. In Europe and other Western nations, where energy prices are increasing and becoming increasingly unaffordable, supposed rich nations are now considering the notion of energy poverty. Given Africa and South America's high potential for industrial growth and rapidly increasing populations, there is no logical reason to gamble eliminating natural coal resources, rather to capitalize and expand the reach and influence further. We must constantly strive to enhance societal, economic, and environmental outcomes for all stakeholders. Despite our differences, this is the thing we all have in common. The global pandemic taught us a very important lesson. We are a supply chain of dominoes, interrelated and connected, and lest we forget. We were bystanders once, and the discourse against coal moved at a fiery pace. But today, let's mark a new beginning. We must have a bigger ambition for our industry and enlist the support of our global coal peers, especially when faced with challenges. This is a universal thematic, which requires a universal effort. We must remember that coal has given us the life we have today, and tomorrow it will transform driving and inspiring more advancement. Together, I believe we stand at the threshold of transformation with a shared role and responsibility. And just as we discussed in the Women in Mining discussion yesterday, diversity and inclusion are crucial, but beyond that, we must protect our coal brand, our reputation, amid a rapidly growing, urbanizing global population. We must raise the coal IQ of our policymakers, This effort must be visible, coordinated, and courageous. The world will increasingly rely on us. They will need us. This is our responsibility, and this is also our destiny. Increasingly, the Future Coal platform is becoming the place of joint ventures with other like-minded governments and industry players across the value chain, sharing now risks and opportunities. They are looking to new verticals and horizontals, all with the aim to ensure their economies thrive and that they are self-reliant. And importantly, never compromising the importance of being responsible environmental participants, despite what many may think. They are defining their path to emissions reduction, including carbon neutrality, in a way which is responsible. This is Future Coal's sustainable coal stewardship in action. It is my hope, in these final words, that next year it is the Colombian coal value chain, that's its companies and its leaders, that's actually progressing this powerful platform, connecting with those international businesses who are seeking supply diversity, connecting with those national governments and the finance and investment sector, all progressing this incredible nation. Colombian mining, Colombian coal should not be left behind. Thank you.